new day, new parts. How's it going, guys, and welcome back. As you can probably tell by now, we're removing the Beetle's heart. Why, you ask? Let me tell you a little story. Alright, so when I purchased the Beetle, it was missing a valve cover, so I sourced one. Before fitting that valve cover, I did try and adjust the valve clearances. Then I found out I was missing 2 push rods, so I sourced some of them too. So then I went back in to readjust the tappets. However, I ran out of adjustment on the tappets. Upon further inspection, there were only 3 nuts of the lower 4 head studs, and that's kind of a problem. Also, those 3 nuts were only finger tight, so I put my fingers on my nuts, tightened them up, and replaced the one that was missing, and the valves still wouldn't adjust up. Most of them did, but one had approximately 6mm of free lash. So we came to the conclusion that we better pull the head off just to be sure. Turns out to pull the head off, I needed to pull the engine out, because to pull the engine out, it's only 4 bolts, a cable, and like 4 wires. So with story time out the way, let's pull the engine down, rip the head off, and see exactly what we're dealing with.
I see, yeah, definitely stuck in.
Alright, so this is what we're dealing with now that the engine's out. This valve is stuck in, as you can see down there. So yeah, we're going to go ahead, we're going to pull this head off and yeah, see what damage there is. Hopefully there's no bent valves, but if there is, I've got spares hopefully. So yeah, we're going to knock this stuff out. It's got a twin port heads on it, which is pretty cool. Apparently the engine's out of a Type 3 because it's an N code in there somewhere. So yeah. Alright, when you get to stripping this down, I'm going to put the camera on charge because it's about to die, and we'll see you all in a little bit.
Oh, do you want me to wait?
No, you're right. I'm filming you doing it. Right, heads off. That'll do it every time. So, I'm going to come around here. Right, so I'm going to assume somebody's dropped something down the intake and then they've gone to take the head off to sort it out, realise it's a lot of effort and couldn't get it done. Either way, the head's off now, and yeah, we found there's actually, it looks like a 6mm bolt dropped between the valve and the head, which is holding the valve open. The valve has hit the piston. There's marks on the piston of that. So yeah, if it's bent the valve, hopefully one of the spares that I got will fit. We'll soon find out. Anyways, let's jump back into it. All right, so quick little update is I've had fuel sitting in the head and it's taken absolutely forever to go away. It's evaporating more than it's leaking through. So I'm gonna call that a win and say that the head and valves are still good. The tinware's all off the engine. There. That's all gonna get painted, cleaned up. Engine's still sitting here. I'm gonna clean a lot of this orange paint off as much as I can. And this oil feed pipe that goes from the pump up, because there's a high volume oil pump on there, I'm gonna get a new line made up that's a bit thinner because the inlet and outlet is actually pretty restricted. So I'm gonna get a new hose made up and a bit of an angle here so I can pull it away from the exhaust so it's not rubbing on the exhaust. And Bob's your nana. Right, so it's been a couple of days and yeah, the weather's turned to shit. That's why it was all wet outside. But yeah, I've got all the parts I think that I need. So we're gonna whack the engine back together and chuck it in the car, see if it runs on all 4 cylinders. So yeah, I got some new push rod tubes and some other bits and bobs, seal kit. So we're gonna go ahead, start chucking it all back together and see what we can make happen. Right, so although there is some dickhead that keeps standing in the way of the camera, what I'm actually doing here was cleaning up all of the surfaces around where the sleeves or the liners, or whatever you want to call them, slide into the crankcase. So I had to clean the area up and make sure it was free of all the dirt and debris that was around it, because they actually have a small, like a cardboard type seal that goes around them. I didn't actually have a way of pulling the piston pins out because they're quite stuck. So without being able to pull them out, I couldn't get the liners out, and without getting the liners out, I can't put the new seals in. So I decided to use the aviation gasket sealer, which is what you can see I'm using now. So put them all on the pushrod tubes as well, or at least one of them, and then I got bored and then just let them do their own thing. But yeah, I did try and seal them all up, and I got this side completely done. It was when I flipped the engine round, that's when I found another major issue. Alright, Operation Basket Case bites me in the ass once again. So I've just done the head on one side, and I've been trying to clean up the bores for the other side, and I noticed something very, very upsetting. Yeah, more money. Essentially, I was trying to keep this build as cheap as possible because, one, money is a big issue at the moment. Two, it's a rat rod. I want it to be ratty. I don't want it to be cactus though. So let's have a look. Alright, so this is the passenger side. This was supposed to be the good side. Look at that. That bore itself is actually fine, but the bottom piece being snapped, I've got to find the other half. I assume it's probably in the crankcase somewhere. Either that or some absolute monkey has put this thing together in the past. Yeah, that's not good. And there's maybe 1.5 inches that's not cracked. So that sucks. Gonna have to try and find a set because I'm assuming they're matched heights. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to get something that's whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna make some calls tomorrow and figure it out. But that is a massive, massive bummer. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm at crossroads. I can put this thing back together and it will run as it is. The question is for how long. The last thing I want to do is lunch the bottom end because I know the bottom end is good. It hasn't knocked yet. It hasn't done anything stupid. We have run it for a very short period of time and yeah, it didn't make any horrible noises. So the last thing I want to do is stick it back together, be cheap as possible, throw it back to, let it go, and then it knock that other piece in, which will go directly into the camshaft and then into the sump, and it could destroy a bunch of shit on the way. So that is the cheapest way out of it, but it also means that I'll probably lunch the rest of the motor when it eventually goes, because it's a matter of when, not if. The flip side is I could spend a couple of $100 to maybe $1,000, put a whole new top end on it and know it's good. Knowing my luck, I'd do that and then it would probably spin a bearing in the bottom end or something. So anyways, I'm going to try and find a matched set of pistons and jugs. We'll go from there, hope for the best, and chuck it all back together. So stay tuned. Probably going to be another episode now because we've torn it down, we've started getting into it, and I've hit this big roadblock. So I'm going to start editing the episodes and try and get this content coming out because I want to sort of reinvigorate it a bit. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Drop down in the comments what you think I should do with it, scrap it, start it, keep going, whatever. Would love to hear it in the comments. Please like, share, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Peace.